But a car or a vehicle is a feature of economics and business, isn't it? It gets made, it gets sold, it gets produced, it got metal. Am I right? It's a feature of economics. It is an item of business. Am I right? And how did you value it? You didn't value it by its price. You actually valued it by its behavior. Now, and there are some people who, I normally expect the accountants to say this, but very often, mostly they surprise me, by the way. In fact, if anything, it's the engineers who say, yeah, no, value of a car is 100,000 rand. So fine. But very few people will value something in economics or business by that, by the price. The price is a pure reflection of a transactional moment. That's all it is. The number involved actually ultimately is not the issue at all. It is how it behaves that is the critical thing. And even if you said 100,000 rand and somebody else said 10,000 rand, and say, but okay, if that's a reflection, you think that one is valued at more than that. However, if that thing doesn't go and it blows up on the freeway, then that is worth more than that, isn't it? So the value of this is it is driven by the way it behaves. The behavior drives the measurement or the price. Now this is something we must understand. It is not the other way around, guys. The way a thing behaves will in fact determine its value. And the problem now comes in that you can't, no matter how clever we get in terms of our accounting processes, you can never measure that. There is an accounting formula that tries, and that it says, it looks at benefit versus cost. So you've got a cost-benefit equation. That's the accounting formula, but it doesn't get close to it. The best example I have of this, although I must stop using this example because I believe this bridge has now become famous for other things. But you know the Van Staden's bridge, that bridge it was. Remember that famous PPC advert? Where you see this, you know, all of the history of what this bridge meant at one other stage and whatever it is. Now, if I had to ask an accountant or an actuary and say, okay, value that bridge for me, he'd come up with inflation and deflation and whatever figures and so on, and then, you know, and he'll say, well, what was the value of the bridge? How much did it cost at that time? And then eventually say, Jerry, that bridge is worth, what, 3 billion? I said, you're mad, man. You can't value how many lives that bridge saved, although I believe now people are throwing themselves off it, so there's now you've got a debit and a credit on that bloody equation, you know. But you can't value these things. You can't value how many times it saved people's, in terms of how much time it saved people. How do you value these things? And you know what we try? We try to say we are driven by the measurement. We try to say we are driven by no patrona, Roki, Noi, Eva, whatever it is. And we must understand that if we are driven by that, we will never reach the maximum of what we are. Because what we are is and we cannot measure that. You will never be able to measure the value of a smile, I'm afraid. You don't know what it does to a human being. You don't know what else it does. You don't know the value that you can add on a minute-to-minute basis. And you keep on going through and you check your behavior. You say, what's in it for me? You're trying to measure what you're going to get back. So you stop behaving in a sense that really will unleash this thing and then create that. This drives that. It's not the other way around. And until we really get to understand the numbers in that fashion, that they will never be more than a consequence of other things. That you can never say, by fiddling around with these things, I will truly unleash what is here. This will always be the consequence of that. In business, in economics.